単に肥大化させると言っていたな。いいだろう。だったら肥大化させてやろうじゃないか。買い足すぞ。お作るんだ。
これからご紹介いたしますのはあなた様にこそふさわしい一品さ。
So they definitely ended today's episode with the intent of we're never getting a season 2, which is so weird because I noted and I jotted down in my notes for today's episode, right? Like, I mean, obviously a lot of sexy stuff, a lot of ecchi, not a whole lot of note taking needed, you know, otherwise then, you know, I think the main note, and I gotta share this with you because if somebody clicks off the video, I want to make sure that they hear this funny shit. I wrote down, licking constitutes as washing. Girl, you licking soap. So that's kind of to tell you, hey, what are we going to talk about this episode? But overall, I would say they ended. Okay, let me take a step back. I wrote down initially, what was the point of hiring all these voice actors to voice these girls who aren't even going to be in the show if the last girl that we're going to see is going to be Sherry, okay? And I wrote that down because I thought that was incredibly important. It was like, is the only time we're going to see another girl going to be Sherry? And was the only point of hiring other voice actors for the other roles that the girls have is simply just for episode 2 with that one little flashback of Michio's future or potential future, whatever the hell it was. I'm going to call it future. Y'all say it's potential. Y'all say it wasn't part of whatever. Was that the only reason? Well, thankfully, my this episode answered that question, and during the, I guess, ending scene, right after he constitutes, I don't even know, you know, after he initiates Sherry, we get a whole blend of, okay, he's like, okay, so if the human, so the type of girl Roxanne is beast, you know, her unique skills of beast folk. Dwarf is, you know, the Dwarven, the blacksmith stuff. The human's ability is called the sex maniac ability, apparently. So he's like, I'm going to buy a lot of slaves. So we get a whole montage of him buying all the slaves, which the red-haired girl, I wrote down like, yo, that girl a triple G. He found the biggest titties in the West, right? He's got the biggest bazongas in the West over here. So he recruited her. He ended up getting an elf girl, too. I was like, okay, I see you. But I love seeing all of that, and I think that ending really said, okay, hey, if we never get a season 2, we showed you all the girls that he has. We showed you his doing his sexy time. I wish that we got more time with each of those girls, because the elf girl, specifically, I really, really like a lot. And then the girl with the ears and the blue hair girl, I was like, okay, she seems like a freak. I want to know more about her too. It's unfortunate that we didn't get more time with the other girls this season. Especially, you know, it's like at the end of the day, it's an ecchi anime, so I could have done with, at this point, I could have done with like less story, I guess. I don't even know. This was really good, and I think I just would have loved to see maybe 2 more episodes, you know, just to kind of like really cap it off. But regardless, they did cap it off at the end with that little montage. So overall, I think this was one of the better ecchi animes that we've seen. You know, in thinking of other ecchi anime that's primarily focused on ecchi, right? I think at the top of the hill, you have High School DxD, and then everything else. You know, I would say like High School DxD is like a 9. It's super solid, good story, lots of bazongas. Then you have everything else beneath it. I would say this is closer to the top of the hill. I don't think it's a masterpiece, but I think, you know, as far as ecchi goes, I would say the anime is a solid 7.75 out of 10. But on the ecchi scale, I would say it's like an 8.5 out of 10. So I would say this is like a great ecchi anime. But this episode specifically, you know, we got Roxanne, we got her jealousy. We found out that the adventurer job that Michio has is something given to him because he was isekai here. The adventurer job was only ever held by one other person, and that was the first emperor. We didn't learn anything else about it, but Sherry knows some good background. He showed off for Sherry. He got excited for Sherry. Then we had Sherry cook, which we got to see that. We learned about his sex maniac job. We saw some licking and some bathing time between Sherry and Roxanne. Then we saw some intimacy. You know, he broke the cherry for Sherry, which is really cool. And we saw Roxanne get all up in it too. The one question I did have is, can Sherry get pregnant? Can dwarves get pregnant? And that same other question is going to surface to the other slaves that he inhabited or he purchased as well, including the elf girl, the redhead girl. She looked like the big old Bazonga girl. She looked like she was human. Then you have the wolf girl or whatever the hell she was. So can they get pregnant? Potentially, if that's true, if any of them can, he could have a lot of babies running around his house. He probably needs to get a bigger house pretty soon. But at the end of the day, he got them triple G's, so, you know, whatever, right? Then we found out that he has an attack called the abstinence attack, which is essentially just making him less horny, which good for him to be able to initiate that, especially if he's in the middle of a dungeon or a fight or something. He gets a big old boner badoger. He's able to kind of quell the dragon, so that's good for him. Then we get some flashes at his next slaves and some flesh. So all good, you know. Overall, I think this has been quite a journey. I think this has been a cool journey for us here, you know, with one of the ecchi animes. I don't always cover ecchi on the channel. I try and choose at least one anime that skews more towards ecchi. Kind of how I go is like I try and choose one isekai, one ecchi, one slice of life, one romance, you know, and then the rest can be in a multitude of genres. But this was definitely the ecchi anime this season. If you want to see what I'm covering next season, make sure you guys click the video at the end of this video here. But to put a cap on it, I would say I would have loved to spend more time with the other girls. I would have loved to gotten to know the other girls of this season. I would have loved to spend maybe a little less time on the fan service with Roxanne. I think Roxanne took up 85% of our fan service this season, which is completely okay, but I think that could have been better well served to introduce the other girls, especially if there is never a season 2. And one action I like to do before we end is I always like to take a look at the studio. So the studio that did this one was Studio Passione. Their works include not very many. They've done a total of 5, 10, I'm sorry, 6, 12. They've done a total of 17 anime that they've produced. The only anime that's ever gotten a sequel or a season 2 or a continuation has been Higurashi When They Cry. They have done other anime like Interspecies Reviewers. That was very controversial when that came out. It's not that bad. They did Maruko-chan, which I didn't like, which is the scary ghost one. They've done one OVA. They've done one OVA of High School DxD at some time in the past. They've done Wasteful Days of High School Girls. They did one of my favorite animes, probably top 30 animes, which is Roka or Raka, Braves of the Six Flowers. I love that quite a bit. And then they did one of the top Yuri animes that I would say, this is just my personal opinion, they did one of the top Yuri animes in Citrus. And then they did do the third season, the third or fourth season of High School DxD as well. They did the Hero one, which is the shittiest one out of all the seasons. But that's kind of their body of work. So, you know, if you count Higurashi, and I guess if you count them working on the third or fourth season of High School DxD, there really none of the other ones have really got any kind of continuation. So the likelihood here is, I would say, about 15-20%, probably about 15% at the most of this getting a season 2 probably will never get a season 2. So let me know what you guys thought about all of my thoughts. Let me know what you thought about the ending. Let me know what you thought about the girls and the flashes at the end. And let me know your true feelings on this one. And where would you rank it among ecchi anime? And give me your rating in the comments. And of course, like I said, at the end, check out the video for what we're covering in the fall. And my friends, you stay classy. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.